friends. I'm Karen, and this is the Family Food for Moms podcast. We're talking about inspiration for family cooking and dining. Today, we're going to be talking about chefs' tasting menus, how they work, how they're structured, and how we can copy or learn from how chefs do it to try at home. We don't want to spend hours in the kitchen, but it is such fun to have a fancier meal at home. Picture a fancy special meal with your husband and children where they've helped to prepare different courses that are fancy but simple, elegant, and able to be made in a relatively short amount of time. The ingredients of the meal aren't too fancy, but it feels special and elevated. You have time to linger over the meal and enjoy the different flavors which are tied together by a theme, whether it's country-inspired dishes like Italian or French, or whether it's seafood, whatever works together for you. I'm going to give you some suggestions of things you can make to have a kind of a tasting menu meal at home. A tasting menu is always made up of small courses, so you can have more courses in total and not be too full. So first, let's talk about the structure of a tasting menu. Have you ever sat down for a tasting menu at a restaurant and then wondered why did they do the dishes in that order? We had a tasting menu on an anniversary one year, and it was many tiny courses that were not really familiar to us but delicious. And it's such a unique experience. So it's definitely worth replicating some of that magic. So have you wondered, how do they manage to take you on a journey from the first course to the dessert? Somehow chefs manage to tell a story through their tasting menu meal, and they give you a sensory experience full of surprises. There's a progression of flavors. They use technique and they immerse you in the experience. So we want to try and accomplish a similar thing at home, but to a lesser extent. It's more than a series of small plates. It's a story told through food. Courses in French cuisine used to be even more formal and structured than they are now. And we see something similar in the Japanese tradition of kaiseki ryori. Each dish reflects a seasonal theme or local ingredients. And today, when partaking in tasting menus from restaurants, you have a culinary experience where you sit down, you put your trust in the chef. You don't worry about what you should order, but you let them guide you course by course through a curated experience that they've come up with. There's enhanced flavor, different textures, different designs on the plate, colors, all of that. So when designing a tasting menu, the chef thinks about what they want people to feel. Do they want them to be surprised, comforted, excited? They want to balance richness and softness, different textures like crunch. Each course needs to be complete in itself, but also set the stage for the next one. So a tasting menu is normally structured. The first course, a amuse-bouche, which is a fancy French word. This course is usually just one or two small bites. It's like the chef saying, welcome, like a movie trailer. It's not the whole story, but a little hook. It might be a cold carrot soup in a tiny cup, a small single oyster, something simple to wake up your palate. Then the second course would be a light appetizer, something fresh or raw, something bright and refreshing. There could be raw or barely cooked vegetables, nothing too heavy. Maybe there'd be citrus segments or a chilled pea soup with lemon zest. Then there'd be a heavier mid-course, something bold. This is where the menu starts to gain momentum. These dishes will have more warmth, maybe cooked proteins, handmade pasta or potato dishes. You could have a scallop over a corn puree, layering the richness and the texture. You could have a mushroom stuffed with ricotta. Sometimes this course is expanded into 2 or 3 courses at a very fancy place, but we don't need to do that. Then the main course is the showstopper, the richest, most intricate dish of the evening. Something like a fried duck breast with fermented vegetables, or fruits like plums and citrus, maybe a parsnip puree, shaved truffle, or other luxurious ingredients. So this one is usually the final savory dish. So after eating it, you'll feel satisfied, but not quite full yet. Then there'll be a palate cleanser. Something acidic and light like cucumber, lime, granita, a sorbet, lemon sorbet, apple sorbet. Something refreshing. Probably won't be too sweet, but it will be enticing. A chef's menu dessert might be cake with lemon curd, a small portion, and some mascarpone, creamy, citrusy, and gently sweet. Or maybe it'll be chocolate something with salted caramel, elegant but not excessive. And then the final course might be small sweets, biscuits, little treats to accompany coffee or tea, perhaps some cheese or a bowl of berries. A little surprise to leave you smiling. Tiny bites, maybe a chocolate with a special filling. So thoughtful and delicate. It's taken you on a journey. A well crafted menu is designed to move you emotionally and leave you feeling full and content, satisfied. So, how can we bring this tasting menu home? How can we do this at home without it being a crazy, overwhelming challenge? We don't need Michelin stars or sous chefs to be able to do this at home, so we can simplify it. Make it simple, take inspiration from the things that we can apply at home, and then infuse a little bit of magic into family dinner time or celebrations. So, firstly, it's not about complexity, it's about your intention. The heart of the tasting menu is a story. Simple ingredients are great. You can ask yourself, what's the mood I want to bring? Or what's the theme and atmosphere I want to create? Is it cozy, comforting, light, like a seasonal celebration? So you start with an idea as a guide for your menu choices. And the goal isn't to impress, but to create a meaningful experience. One that allows you to be close as a family or with your guests and to linger around the table. Secondly, think in courses. There doesn't have to be more than 3 or 4 courses, as long as you have an intentional flow. For example, you could have a small cup of butternut squash soup with a little olive oil drizzled on top. Follow that up with a small salad with goat's cheese and orange segments, and then maybe have a roasted piece of chicken with lemon served over rice, and then pears or apples baked with honey, or a little bit of vanilla ice cream from the store with lemon olive oil drizzle. The key is to pace your meal, to serve it in waves rather than all at once, so that you're allowing people to pause, reflect, to talk to each other, to enjoy the experience, and to enjoy each other while they enjoy the meal. Point number 3 is to play with the textures, the flavors, to bring contrast. In restaurants, contrast is key. Soft versus crispy, hot versus cold, acidic versus sweet or creamy. So try adding a crispy garnish like croutons or bacon to a creamy soup, or add a bright vinaigrette to the main course. Or a small touch like sprinkling a few roasted nuts or a squeeze of lemon that elevates your dish beautifully. Number 4, use a palate cleanser. It sounds fancy, but it's so simple. You can buy some sorbet or ice cream in advance and serve it in tiny little dishes or glasses. You can use some cold soup, carrot soup, I love carrot and avocado soup. It's very easy. You juice some carrots if you have a juicer, or buy some carrot juice and then blend it with an avocado. It's amazing. And chill it. Make sure it's cold when you serve it. It's creamy and sweet and wonderful. So these elegant, simple things can reset your palate, and then you're ready for the next course. You can blend a little lemon juice with water and sugar and freeze it, and then you scrape the frozen liquid with a fork, and that's a lemon granita that you can add to a drink, or add it to a sparkling water, or serve it on its own in a tiny dish, flavored shaved ice. That's lovely for a palate cleanser. Then number 5, create rituals at the table. Tasting menus are about being present, slowing down, enjoying the experience together. So we can serve each course slowly, maybe have a toast in between where we mention what's special to us or what we're thankful for. And we can share why we chose a certain dish or certain ingredients to add to the menu. Perhaps there's a significance or a memory in there. So we need to turn off distractions and try not to get up from the table too much. Instead, get into the conversation and enjoy some gentle music. And this changes the family meal from being just routine to a special event. Even a simple meal can still be special. Number 6, end with a small touch, something elegant and interesting. This could be a local sweet, a macaron, a little chocolate, mini cookies, chocolate dipped strawberries, or a square of gum, or chocolate with tea or coffee. So you'll have to look at the last 2 courses and see if you can do 2 smaller things that go together, or you can simply combine them into one dessert. But the little gesture at the end leaves a lasting impression. It's just very small, but it's something extra. Recently, after our dessert at a fancy restaurant, they brought a tiny plate with 2 little homemade chocolates on it, and the fillings were so different. They were unique, and it really just adds that last finishing touch, makes it special. So we don't have to be quite as fancy as a restaurant with shaved truffles or something really expensive, but we're still bringing specialness, elegance, and memories to our meal. We're paying attention to the flavors, the contrast, and the pacing of the meal, and to the people around your table. Now I'm going to talk about some specific ideas for tasting menus at home, a few courses within a theme. Number 1 is a spring celebration. Have a light and vibrant first course like polenta bites with herbs and goat's cheese. Polenta is very simple to make. The directions are usually on the package, and you need to stir it like a porridge. Stir in a figure 8 the whole time while it cooks, and then when it's just right consistency, then you pour it out onto a tray or onto a granite counter and let it set, and then you cut it into cubes or slices. You can toast them, or you can pan fry. In this case, for the starter, for the appetizer, you can pan fry each little square and until it's golden and crispy, and then mix up your goat's cheese or cream cheese with herbs and salt and pepper, and then top each polenta bite with a small dollop of cheese. Then you can have a course of pea and mint soup. You can serve it chilled. Use fresh or frozen peas, maybe shallots, French onions, with some vegetable broth, and let it simmer for about 10 minutes and then blend it up. It's lovely cold. Serve it with a creme fraiche or sour cream on top. It'll be bright and refreshing. For your main course, how about boneless skin on chicken thighs? Seasoning, add lemon juice, and then cook them in the oven for about 15 minutes at 400 Fahrenheit or 200 Celsius. Then you can deglaze the pan with a bit of broth or even white wine, add some butter and lemon juice for a sauce, and you can serve this over something like rice or quinoa or stir-fry veg. Then for dessert, you can do panna cotta. I'll put a recipe on the website for that. Basically cream, sugar, and vanilla with gelatin. And then you can end with tiny dark chocolate squares sprinkled with a little sea salt. Break them into bite-sized pieces. Use something like a 70% lint bar and add a little of your coarse salt. Maybe have some coffee with it or a sparkling drink. You could use for this meal, for a drink, some sparkling water, add some mint leaves, cucumber slices or cucumber ribbons, some edible flowers, a little bit of lemon juice, and then something like elderflower syrup or passion fruit cordial. Shake it all up together. You could also have a spiced chamomile tea and honey latte. So you use some chamomile tea that you've steeped, and then you add a little bit of honey, cinnamon, and lemon zest, and you drink that. Lovely. Theme number 2, cozy elegance. For the first course, you could do something like sweet potato rounds with a bit of creme fraiche and honey drizzle. So you use sweet potatoes, slice them into thick slices, and then add a little olive oil and salt, and then roast them in the oven till they're tender and slightly crisp, maybe about 20 minutes. After they've cooled slightly, then you can add the creme fraiche and a drizzle of honey. You can garnish it with some chives or microgreens for some added elegance. Then next you could make a blood orange and pistachio salad. Tear up some lettuce, open an orange and cut up the segments, and then sprinkle over some chopped pistachio nuts. Perhaps add some mint leaves, olive oil, lemon juice, salt. It's a lovely appetizer. The next course could be some baked salmon with fresh herbs. You can sprinkle some almond flour on the salmon for a bit of a crust. Add some lemon juice, olive oil, salt and pepper, and a bit of butter even, and then bake them in the oven. You could do mashed potato on the side or elegant pieces of fried potato. Cut your potato into little squares and fry those. That's a lovely main. Then your dessert could be a chocolate panna cotta. You can make this with the recipe on our website. I'll put it there, and that's familyfoodformoms.com. You make it with heavy cream, milk, chocolate chips, egg yolks, and sugar. And then you can finish off with tiny shortbread, or candied orange peels dipped in dark chocolate. And for a drink to go with this menu, you can make a citrus rosemary sparkler with 1 cup of orange juice, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and some sort of cordial syrup like lemon cordial or passion fruit cordial with sparkling water. You just mix them all together and serve. And adding a drink it elevates your meal in such a lovely way. You can use fancy glasses, fold your napkins in a beautiful style. For that, you can look on our YouTube channel, Family Food for Moms YouTube channel. We have a whole lot of shorts with different ways to fold your napkins at dinner time. We call them serviettes sometimes. Thirdly, there's an Italian-inspired home tasting menu. You could start with Parmesan crisps with whipped ricotta. You can either grate the Parmesan or buy it ready grated. You need 1/2 cup of Parmesan or Parmigiano Reggiano, and then 1/2 cup of ricotta cheese, some lemon zest, and some salt. You mix those up and place mounds of the Parmesan mixture, about 1 teaspoon size each, on parchment paper on a tray. Flatten them very slightly and then cook for 4 to 6 minutes on 375 Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius until they are golden and crisp but not burned. You allow them to cool and then whip up some ricotta cheese with a little bit of lemon zest and lemon drizzle and salt. And you put a dollop of that on each Parmesan crisp. Next, you could have zucchini ribbons with olive oil and shave some Parmesan on top. You can slice the zucchini very thinly and then steam the strips a little bit or just serve them raw in an elegant manner with some cheese shavings and lemon zest and olive oil on top. Your main course could be ricotta stuffed mushrooms. You see the theme of the ricotta and the Parmesan going through all the courses. Ricotta stuffed mushrooms with Parmesan and thyme. I'll put the recipe for that on the website. Your dessert could be a strawberry panna cotta, again, using heavy cream and sugar and gelatine. And then you could end with tiny shortbread cookies. And then for a drink, you could do grapefruit juice or orange juice mixed with sparkling water and a little honey and a few orange slices and some ice in the jug. Do what works for your family. So maybe there's a particular ingredient that your family really enjoys, or you enjoy cooking, perhaps something that's easy for you to make. And then try to make it in a smaller portion for a more elegant dish. Put some extra away in the freezer for another time, but give everybody a little bit of each thing so they've got room for the other courses. And think of small ways to elevate what's on the plate. What can you add to the plate to make it extra special? You could design your courses with a plan beforehand. You could even draw the plates. That helps me to figure it out. And see how your children can help. Perhaps each child can take on their own course and you can draw it together and talk about it and make it fun and special for them to make. And then each child would have their turn to prepare what they need in advance and to apply the finishing touches during the meal. As they make their special course, they serve it while the others continue chatting. If you have 4 different courses, like the meals we looked at, and if you have fewer children, they can do 2 each. Gives everybody a chance to enjoy serving, making something special, and contributing in that way. And also, while they're not doing their own course, they can stay at the table and connect with the others and chat. And they have a chance to do that too while someone else does the serving and preparing of that course of food. When you're doing a tasting menu dinner at home, focus a lot of your energy or your kids' creativity when coming up with a plating design. It doesn't even have to be that complicated. You can just, in the moment where you're going to plate, have a few herbs available, some edible flowers, little berries or fruits or anything that will add to the color and textures on your plate. And then arrange them in a way that just takes a little bit of extra care. You can use a cookie cutter, a round one, or any kind of circular container that helps you to plate something like your rice or your mashed potato in a little circle. You can use a spoon to do smears, or you can just put lots of small colorful elements on one side of the plate. So just a little bit of extra care makes that special. And if you're looking for any elegant appetizers, you can go and see our Elegant Easy Appetizers cookbook. It's got beautiful pictures of each appetizer. They've each only got 5 ingredients and are very simple to make. So you could use those as part of your tasting menu and then just copy the photo when you're plating it. For example, the cucumber, cream cheese, and baby tomato appetizer with a little bit of basil pesto. There's many ways to plate that to look elegant. And you can copy the photo there. I think it's even in the preview file if you'd like to download that. That's at familyfoodformoms.com, and in the menu you click on online store, or just go to familyfoodformoms.com/shop. And there you can see the printed and the digital versions of the cookbook. The idea is also not to be too busy as the mom and the coordinator, but to develop tasks so you can be present and enjoy the conversation, enjoy the meal, and to make it into a special event with your family and a memorable time. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you're feeling inspired. I'm going to plan a tasting menu like this for this Friday night. I hope you have a lovely week with your families and that it's not too crazy or hectic, although it can be as a mum. I'll see you next time.